Hi. Hi and welcome to School of Addiction. Today's topic is why we relapse when life gets better. Just so you know who I am, if you're new to the channel, my name's Ashley Bloxham. I am a therapist. I specialise in trauma and childhood, but I'm also an addictions counsellor. I've studied addiction right the way up to PhD level. I've overcame addiction, so I think that qualifies as the most to be sat here. And I also know what it's like to have loved ones who struggle with addiction, so I understand addiction from a 360-degree angle. So tonight's topic, why might we relapse when life gets better? So I don't know if any of you have been through this. I certainly have. But we go through that initial painful experience of stepping away from the addiction. We get through that first week where it just feels like we're walking around with this horrible doom and gloom cloud hanging over us. Then we start to get the sparkle back to life. We start to realise actually the cravings are going down. We feel a little bit better. And then we start to go, oh, well, maybe I could do that thing a little bit. Or there's something coming up, I think that's okay. And it's really important to talk about this because I think we think, oh, when it's hard, that's when we've got to fight against addiction. But actually, it's when we get cocky. That is another time to fight against addiction. We start to get cocky and think, oh, I've got this under wraps now. I've got through the hard part. I feel like I'm in control of my life, so I can do this. And it's not. It's that alter ego, that little voice that comes up in our head, and it tries to use anything, any excuse to try and bend round to getting back into the addiction. So it's super important that when we start to have these feelings that we're aware this is just our alter ego, that little voice which is trying to get us back into the addiction, and it's going to use any excuse. And it will use bad excuses. So if there's something painful which happens in life, it'll be like, oh, well, I'm going to go do this thing because that makes us feel better. So it uses that as an excuse. And it also uses positive times. I'm feeling good. I feel like I can do this. And it's really important to remember that just because you've got through the worst bit, the hard bit, this is still a vital time to hammer down on your recovery. If we're stopping, like I had an addiction to ketamine, and I thought that I would be okay to have what I called a plate scrape. So it was the crumbs of ket on a plate that other people were sniffing, and I thought, oh, it's only a tiny minuscule line, and I full-on relapsed off this. So it's super important that we're aware that this is just our addicted brain trying to rope us in. It's saying we're fine, life's good, we can handle it, and it's not true. It's really not true. So if we name this alter ego, as in give it a name, mine was Trashly because I'm Ashley and I get very trashy when I'm on drugs. So name the alter ego and just have a little conversation with it. Give it a pep talk. No, we're not doing that. That is not going to be helpful. We might feel good and be a little bit cocky now, but we will not feel so cocky when we're knee deep in a relapse and we've got to do all of what we've just done all over again. And I know it sounds really lame chatting to yourself and naming that little voice in your head, but it's actually super helpful because it gets us to do something called metacognition, which I've spoke about a lot, but it's this art of thinking about thinking. So it's acting as a circuit break. We're not just acting on impulse. We're not just being cocky and thinking we can do it. We start to rationalize with ourselves, and it's a way of controlling our impulse. So yeah, let's see what people are saying. Oh, it's Tico. How are you doing? I'm good, thank you. Carlos, hi, how are you? I'm sending big love from Brazil. Hello, I am doing really good. I was a little bit tired before I came on, but I knew that I'd get some kind of energy coming on here with you guys. Thank you very much. Tico is saying if you want to get in touch with us, go on schoolofaddiction.co.uk. I'm not doing full counselling, but if you want a free one-to-one, or to be in a free one-to-one, or if you want to be in my addiction group starting early January, then do get in touch. You make me feel cocky. We've all been cocky before, and it doesn't always end well, let's be real. Thank you. Good. Hi dear. Hi, how are you doing? Good. So I'm a therapist. I specialise I work with all different issues, but if anyone's got any questions around therapy, anything that's going on, or addiction, please do send us a comment and I will do my best to get through them. Craig Palmer, I've got a hospital appointment on Friday. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Is it a good thing? I said I'm sorry to hear that, but actually, is this an appointment you need? Do I snore? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm asleep, so I don't know. So backdoor assault. I'm addicted to cocaine. Yeah, cocaine's a really difficult one because it's so socially acceptable. I will start off by saying, backdoor assault. If you're wanting to have a free one-to-one and be in the addiction group, do go on my website. It's Tico's pinned, and send us a message and I'll get in touch with you. Thing with cocaine is one of the issues with depending on what type you're taking, if it's cocaine or crack. But one of the issues that a lot of us face when we're taking cocaine recreationally is coke isn't chemically addictive, it's psychologically addictive. But if you mix it with alcohol, aka you have a drink and then you have a line, then it forms a compound called cocoethanol, and that's chemically addictive. So it's not only psychologically addicted but chemically addictive, and there's so many people who start off the coke addiction with just having a drink and they're like, I'm not going to have any coke, and as soon as that drink hits the lips, that's it, we need to get the packets in. And I've been there, and that has been something I've went through. So one thing with coke is if you're having it with alcohol, it's important to try and cut down the alcohol as well, but obviously be aware that reducing alcohol needs to be done with a professional because it can be fatal. But I don't know your situation, your full situation with cocaine. That's quite generalised. Is it something that you're doing every day? Right, Mike, my married co-worker wants to meet me in the parking garage at lunchtime. Very tempted to go for it, question mark. I mean, I really don't like cheating. The thing is, for two things. So like one for the person who's dealing with it. So I've dealt with being cheated on, and it really does harm, like it harms a person, it stops them from being able to trust. So like I remember one of my first boyfriends had been cheated on multiple times before he got with me, and he really struggled to trust us, even though I've never done anything like that, and I saw how much it damaged him. And then I got to experience that myself, which is fun. But you have to ask yourself, if somebody's cheating on their partner, they clearly have quite low morals in terms of that situation. So is that somebody you want to be starting something up with? Because that's clearly something that they're morally okay with, and I can't imagine that is a good way to be feeling in a relationship. And there's a lot of research on cheating, and so people do change after they cheat, but they have to be able to take accountability. And if they're starting off like that, it doesn't sound like there's much accountability being took. But you know, each to their own. Not yet to pass judgment, just you asked me opinion. Black doors, nose assault. The inside of my nose is scabbing like crazy. Yeah, I had so many scabs, mainly from ketamine, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's hardcore. So I take that's something you're doing all the time then. Backdoor. Chris Kelly, give us more information, backdoor. See what we can do. But like I say, I'm happy to do a one-to-one with you as well. Mohammed, it's John Marston Mika. Hello. I don't know who that is. I don't know, is that you? What's my name? My name is Ashley. Ashley Bloxham. Right, so AA, you're going to get called AA. It is. I avoided years of therapy by learning about grounding these three. Drugs will destroy your mind, our most important asset. Yeah, and the thing is, it's not just about the fact it destroys your mind, it like rewires your mind. So your brain, like we talk about having a chemical imbalance. You hear this a lot with mental health. And what it is that your brain is now geared up for addiction, because what happens is it down-regulates your dopamine, so we don't produce enough dopamine, which is so important to everyday life. So it down-regulates it because we flood our brains with dopamine with whatever we're addicted to. So our bodies are always trying to achieve balance, like homeostasis. So it actually does affect your mind, but it isn't irreparable. Like we can rewire our brain. So yes, it's good to know it does destroy your mind. I suppose destroy is quite a heavy word, but it does impact your brain and your brain chemistry, but also it is reversible, and it starts to reverse as early as 3 weeks on, and it'll continue, and you'll notice this, like from 3 weeks onward, life starts to get a little bit more sparkly, a little bit easier. Mohammed, I'm your fan from Libya. I love that. Little worldwide fans. Who'd have thought? I'm Jesus. I'm addicted to this channel. Thank you. Do you know what it is? We've all got addictions. We've all got vices. I would say this is a fair thing to be addicted to. I'm addicted to self-help and just learning to love myself. Like anything to kind of learn about my body and psychology. Ferret, I don't think we have addictions. All government says freedom of, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word, so I feel like I'm allowed to talk about that, about sexual abuse, we'll say. So who can adopt the system rather to become addicted? I think this, I kind of agree with some things you're saying. I think the issue is the government's failed quite a lot of people, not purposely. I don't think it's not some conspiracy, but they have let people consistently slip through the net as children. Yeah, like even just so many different points people are slipping through the net, and then what's happening is they then turn into addiction, they're self-medicating, and a lot of the time we don't even realise that we're self-medicating. We just end up taking drugs or alcohol recreationally, or we're doing some other kind of like addictive behaviour, and we're doing it recreationally, and then all of a sudden we realise, oh, we're one of the people who actually can't just do this recreationally. We're now like, we've been playing a game of Russian roulette and the bullet was in when it shot at us. So yeah, and then the problem is the government, instead of taking accountability for that with policy, is instead making it an individual issue. So the same people they failed in the beginning, they're continuing to fail on a broad scale. So it's really shit situation. Marcus, this is what's happening to me right now. My ego is trying to say I've clocked the game when I'm just getting started on healing over my addiction. So it's great you mentioned this. Yeah, honestly, it happens to the best of us, which is why I wanted to talk about it. There's so many times I've got cocky. In fact, I quit vaping. Like, this isn't the same as drug addiction, but I quit vaping, I got cocky, and this has happened a few times, and I'm an addictions therapist. I know better. And I still got cocky and thought, oh, I can just go on holiday and I'll have a vape, it'll be fine, and knee deep in it again. But yeah, it's so true. We think, oh, because we're through the worst of it, I control, then I can. Especially with Christmas coming up. It's like we can start to just say, oh, well, it's the holidays and I'll be fine, I've got it now. We don't got it. My situation is I'm looking for a baddie. Well, that is, I suppose at least you can put your dopamine to good use, so you can go hunt a baddie out. Yeah, I don't know what else to say to that, and good luck. Your accent looks Australian. It's not. It's Newcastle from England. I've had that a few times. Sunnyflower. I love that name. I am good, thank you. How are you? How's everyone else doing? Sam, thank you. That was a nice compliment. Why would someone cheat on you, girl? There's a lot of reasons why people cheat. I've been cheated on a few times, and it's always been them crying like babies. It hasn't worked out for them. I've just got such strong, like, yeah, I'm just like, no, that is, if you're going to cross that line, there's no coming back from it, unfortunately. But yeah, people don't cheat necessarily from malice. Often people cheat because they need validation, or maybe they're too scared to end the relationship, or lots of different reasons. But usually it's like anything that we do when we make a mistake. It's not something we're doing to be cruel. It's just something that's not great, and usually it's the person who cheats who ends up getting upset. I've had so many people, like friends or people who've came to counselling, and they're the ones who feel hard done by in the situation. So yeah. I shit myself all over the place. Okay. Should clean that up, I would say. Get some Dr. Beckhams on it. Guto saying dating a married co-worker, no. Yeah, the verdict's saying, we've got a few people saying no, don't do it, don't do it. I wouldn't even date a co-worker, to be honest with you. It's messiness right there. What happens if they go psycho as well? You're stuck with them. What happens if it's somebody who's got some serious attachment issues and you're working with them? Unless you're not bothered about your job. Ground the mind. Let the emotional state ground itself next and your body comes last. It's not hard to regulate your nervous system. Yeah, regulating your nervous system, no matter what you're dealing with, is like, you will find life so much easier if you learn how to regulate your nervous system. And it's really simple to do. It's like anything. It's like addiction recovery or anything that we've got to do, which is undoing years of practice. But it's hard in the fact that you've got to keep at it and you've got to keep doing it day in, day out, because we're creating new neural pathways. But it's really simple, the practices. So first of all, do a little exercise where you check to see what your body's like. So are you somebody who's like this? Because I was that hunched over that I had to go to a chiropractor. Like, my body had been hunched over since a child. So if your body is hunched over, start to open up your shoulders. The other thing is relax your jaw. So are you a teeth grinder? Relax your jaw, relax your shoulders, so like pull them down, and you'll instantly feel like a soothing feeling if you pull your shoulders down. Like, imagine there's like, you've got carrying 2 heavy shopping bags. And just deep breaths. So breathe out slower than what you're breathing in, but just conscious deep breaths, and keep doing this every time you're sitting down. Get used to just checking in with yourself, and you'll naturally find that you start checking in with yourself. But it is such a game changer. And for me, I tried all the different therapies possible. I'd done loads of different things and it wasn't healing. I just couldn't. I learned how to regulate my mind, but I just couldn't seem to make the stuff that I was doing stick. And it was really demoralizing, because I thought, I'm a therapist and therapies aren't even working on me. Like, the same stuff I'm giving to clients isn't working. And the missing key piece was regulating my nervous system, and my life changed. So yeah. What would you say, double A, that has helped you regulate your nervous system? Overstimulation is running us. Yeah, it is. We're so overstimulated there's so much data that we're not supposed to be getting, like lights everywhere, screens, crazy noises, cars. It's a lot for our bodies and brains to take. Sima, but why girls go for guys who already have a girlfriend? Maybe the challenge, I don't know. I wouldn't do that myself. I've had a few people who've had girlfriends and I've embarrassed the life out of them, saying like, I will be telling your girlfriend if you don't stop doing that right now. How would you feel? I am Jesus Christ. I've got highest morals. Yeah, the thing is, having good morals is great, but as well, it's also, I was doing things which weren't in alignment with morals, and a lot of it was just because I was reactive and I had really unhelpful defense mechanisms. So it's about having morals, but also learning about just putting ourselves under a microscope, like taking stock of how we're showing up and just being kind to ourselves if we're not in alignment with morals. But it's good to have a good moral compass. And me too. Chemo, hi teacher, can you help me? Like, I can't decide or truly find my passion or what I want to do in life, ma'am. What can I do? That's such a good question. So I'm actually the first degree I did, counselling degree, got qualified to be a careers and guidance counsellor. I studied all of counselling, but for some reason that was the only qualification I had. That's why I had to do a second counselling degree. So you can do a few things. So you can find out things that you're good at. So something that you're good at. So you can do Myers-Briggs test. That's a way to find out different things. But think about, what are you good at? So where's your skill set? And then think about, what do you enjoy? Now, if you're not sure what you enjoy, go back to childhood. What was it? And it's usually in your primary years. What was it that you really enjoyed when you were younger? And if you've got something that you were good at, that you used to be passionate about, and you can marry them together, that's probably where a good place to start. And look at your strengths. So for me, I wanted to be a teacher. And as a kid, I used to teach all my teddies. I'm also quite a confident speaker, and yeah, so for me, this is ideal. I get to, and I learned to, I love counselling. I love how the human mind works and stuff like that. So I didn't feel right in counselling. I wasn't a teacher. I didn't go down that route. And I love to talk. And I always, like, when I was younger, used to like practice doing interviews and stuff. So it was about thinking about putting those things together. But I can do a free one-to-one with you, Chemo. If you go on my, or Chemo, if you go on my website, which it's Tico has pinned, I'm happy to do a free one-to-one and we can hash it out together. Frenchie, I take oxydone and fentanyl after an operation for 10 years and I try to stop despite the fact that the back pain is still strong. So the thing with that, if we're looking at taking opioids for prescription, if you remove the prescription, like the opioids, what happens is you get what's called rebound pain. So the pain that you had in the beginning, that you started taking the opioids for, when you remove it, you're going to not only get that pain back, but you're also going to get rebound pain. So Frenchie, the best thing that you can do, I would say, is go to a service like a GP or something and just explain what's happened. Like, this is really common. They're very aware of this, and it sounds like it's a chemical addiction as opposed to a psychological one. But if you want to work that out, again, we can have a free one-to-one. So the thing with that is, with the opioids, you need to avoid the rebound pain. And that usually looks like going to a pain clinic. It looks like reducing down glacially slow. And it's doing that with professionals because they'll know how to do that. And usually, like I say, through a pain clinic. And I think the main thing is that there's no shame in the fact that you're taking these drugs to help avoid pain, because opiates are a pain relief. And I really can't imagine it's nice to be living in constant pain. So it's about thinking about, okay, this is serving a purpose. Can we get something that's going to serve the purpose in a way that isn't as problematic? I hope that was helpful. Chemo, I've already answered that. Chris, hello, how are you doing? My little faith-based mod, I love it. Yes, accountability is huge. I was cheated on by my ex and that screwed me up so much. Praise God for my wife and her being by my side through the ugly stuff. Yeah, it does. I'm pretty solid in myself, and I've still been dealing with trust issues. Luckily, I know how to work through them, and I know not to project them. But it has been shown its ugly head in my new relationship, which is like the first proper relationship I've been in since I was cheated on. And then it's not nice. It's really painful. It's hard to undo, because when you love someone and they cheat on you, let's be real, and you trust them, it's then really, it makes you think, oh, well, if I couldn't trust that person, like, how am I going to trust this next person? But I will say, for anyone who's been cheated on, and for myself, if you've went through that, like, it's bad enough that you've been through that pain, like, letting that go through and ruin a next relationship, hell be damned if I'm letting that happen. So yeah, have you got any tips, Chris, which helped you trust in a new relationship, for anyone who's listening? NCC, is this a school for all addictions? Yeah, all addiction and mental health as well, because I think the two go hand in hand. Let's be real. But yeah, all addictions. So everything that I talk about on this live and all my last lives, they're all related to addiction as a whole. So as someone who's studied it, we don't just study one addiction, it's all of it, because it's exactly the same. It's the same things going on in our brain. It presents the same. And that's why I think people who've been through addiction instantly get on with somebody else who's been through addiction. It's like it's like army veterans because you just know. It's like, I know what you've been through. If you know, you know. Frenchie, it's hard to stop because the drug maintains pain and the desire to take it. It is hard to stop, and like it really is. And also opiates are extremely addictive. It is. And that's why I would say, Frenchie, it's about getting some support to do that properly. So it's about reducing down really like glacially slow with the right people. It's whether it's a psychological addiction as well, though, is if it is just for pain and are you just taking it, or are you getting some kind of buzz out of it? Do you look forward to having it? Like, is it joy, or is it you just going through the motions and you're chemically addicted to it? And again, if you're not sure, I'm happy to hash that out with you in a free one-to-one. Jason, am I ready for Christmas? I am. I've got 3 people's presents to buy. I've done really well this year. I buy every year though. I get every month, sorry. And I don't overdo it. I thought I'm not stressing myself out for Christmas. Even though we get it shoved in our faces that we should, especially as a mum. Today I was reading a book called Surfing for God, and it was dealing with cravings. The author was talking about interrogating your cravings out loud to step out from them and master them. Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. It's again that metacognition that I spoke about in the first place. And this doesn't just work for addiction recovery, it works for anything. If there's any situation that we're struggling with our mental health, you can do what's called metacognition. And I'll not go into it again, because I've spoke about it a lot on the channel, but it's just about talking out loud to yourself. It's thinking about thinking, and it's so helpful in healing. But yeah, that makes perfect sense. Is there anything else, Chris, that is said that would be helpful to anyone listening who's struggling in addiction? Chris said, be sure to like and subscribe. Everybody helps out tremendously. Yeah, please do subscribe. That would be helpful, and like. And thanks for everyone who's just shows up all the time. I've got my little regulars, which I love. Can you narrate my life story? I mean, if you're wanting to do it, if you're being serious, I don't know if you're talking about like for some kind of documentary or something, or if you just want to just like follow you around narrating. Let us know. Jossie, what's up, baby girl? I'm good, thank you. How are you? Simon, I am a chemistry honour student, did research with alcohol and found that it triggers cancer cells to rise. It's a carcinogenic, yeah. So this can help a few people with addictions. It really is. It's just drinking poison. And let's be real, like anyone who's struggling with addiction to alcohol knows it's not good for them. I think there's a point where you realise, like, yeah, this is a bit like a carcinogenic. Like, I feel and look like shit, let's be real. But yeah, it is. But a lot of the things, like the thing, I was addicted to ketamine, and that was just absolutely fucking my bladder. When I was sniffing coke all the time and drinking, my nose was slowly eroding away. You can see it's a little bit dinted in that way of sniffing so much stuff for over a decade. You know that it's not good. You're hyper aware it's not good. And then the only harm reduction you've got is other people who do it, like the amount of stuff that I heard that's helpful, so that I don't damage my bladder with ket, which I'm pretty sure was a pile of shit, but... Total Noodle. I like that name. Recovery is if the correction is corrective and not adaptive. What do you mean by that? Can you expand on that? Because it sounds quite philosophical, but I'm not 100% sure what you mean. I'm intrigued. Double Tap, how you doing? Hope you're having a good day. I am, yes. I am. I've been really up and down. I had like a kidney infection. I've been cycling through bipolar episodes. So I've been skirting by, but I feel like I'm back on form again, which is good. Perry, you are so pretty. Love that thing on your head. It looks good. Thank you. My little headbands. I've got loads of them. I just forget to wear them. But thanks for the compliment. We just want to say zig a zig ah. Oh my god, I was literally talking about how I used to collect Spice Girls postcards when I was younger, photographs. I was obsessed with Spice Girls. Still am a little bit. John Smith, get closer to the screen. Enjoy the view with those lovely blue eyes. I mean, I'm here for answering questions, John, not to bat my eyelids at people. Chilled music calms my nervous system. Lightning showers. Yeah, music is so good. Although I don't know if anyone's like this. I'm so sensitive to music. If I listen to depressing music, it really affects my mood. So I've got to be really careful that the music I'm listening to isn't affecting us. And if there's certain song lyrics, I start to get too attached to them, and it starts like convincing myself that something's going on in my life when it's not. Got a very, very sensitive brain. But yeah, music's so good. How do you remove pain that underlines every other emotion? It's about not removing it. I know that sounds counterintuitive. It's about feeling it. So if we try and remove pain, we're not really removing it, we're just suppressing it. So when we suppress emotions, it's much worse. And it's about feeling it. So, and being in control of it. So if we're feeling like, oh, do you mean physical pain? Oh, wait, are we talking about defect, or we're talking about physical pain or emotional pain here? Because we had someone talking about physical pain. Yeah, but if we're talking about emotional pain, it's worth, like, it's about feeling it, but getting some control over it. So assigning yourself some time, so you can literally hash it out with AI. You can write it out, journal about it. You can put some sad music on, some songs that remind you of the situation, and just feel the pain, and like actually allow yourself to feel it. And you'll find that you'll move through it, and then at the end of it you'll feel some relief. Like if you can cry, like that is unreal, because it's like releasing a pressure valve. But the more you start to face pain head on, the more you start to realize, actually, this isn't as debilitating as I originally thought. The thing is, it's like anything, it's like addiction recovery, any kind of mental health recovery. That initial stage of it is going to feel much worse than when we've been doing it for a while. So a good place to start is with a therapist. So you're contained, you've got a safe container to do it. But again, AI can actually be really helpful for this. Or the Samaritans. There's a Samaritans in the UK. There's different kind of services where you can talk about this stuff. But yeah, it's about getting used to it. It's allowing your body to realise this isn't as bad as I thought. And like cravings, feeling emotional pain will be huge in the beginning, but it'll start to come down. So I've got bipolar. When I'm having a low, it's a really emotionally painful time, if we think about it from a physiological standpoint. But I've got used to just sitting in that pain and feeling it, and trying to make the best of it, make myself comfortable when I'm feeling it. Right, I'm going to scroll around because I've got quite a lot of comments, and I'll just go from the bottom and middle and stuff, try and give everyone a fair chance. We need the course of Arabia, not immigration, gold, diamonds, King's Landing. I don't know much about that. City life, not exactly great. It's like free range to chickens. Yeah. I lived in the city. I did love it, to be fair. But I live in the countryside now, and it's tiny little village. I love it. I've got myself an allotment and everything. It's so cute. Alcoholic here. Was sober for 6 months and had a bad day at work a couple of months back, and I relapsed, and I've been drinking every night since. I'm trying to get sober again. Doug Smart, would you like to have a free one-to-one? It's Tico has pinned my website on. Just go on there, it's dead easy to use, and send us a message and I'll get back to you. And also I'm doing a free group that's starting in early January. But yeah, there's nothing more demoralizing than when you've got sober and then you end up relapsing. Because it takes so much strength to pick yourself up and do it. And then you're doing it and you start to feel good about yourself and think, I can do it. And then when you relapse and you think, oh, I couldn't just do it that one time. I spoke about that happening to me once, but it's happened many a time in the beginning. So first of all, I'll say to you what my friend said to me, which was super helpful. And he said, at least when you've done it, you know you can do it. Because before you've done it, you don't know that you can do it. It legit feels impossible. And second of all, I'd say, okay, what happened. So you've already said you had a trigger, you had a bad day at work. So it's about preparing for that. So learning the lesson. Okay, what am I going to do when I have a bad day at work? And the main thing I would say is remind yourself that if I have that drink, yeah, it might be a bad day, but it's going to be a bad fucking however many months if I relapse. So try and think of this can be a positive, but it's about thinking, okay, what worked last time? Don't break something that doesn't work. With alcohol, I don't know how much you're drinking, but obviously remember that it can be fatal to just stop. So we usually have to reduce down. So think about, okay, what worked, and think, okay, what happened. So it was a trigger at work. So that sounds like an emotional regulation issue. So when shit hits the fan, we get dysregulated and we lean into the alcohol. So the best thing we can do whilst you're getting yourself ready to stop and you're reducing down is start to work on your emotional regulation, which is calming your nervous system. If you watch this live back, I've spoke about it if you weren't on in the beginning. So calming your nervous system, just doing deep breaths all the time is another thing which is helpful, and just learning how to process your emotions in a healthy way. And honestly, guys, I don't get endorsed by AI, honestly, but AI can be really helpful. So yeah. The other thing, so I'm talking about reducing down. So with alcohol, and this is just specific to alcohol, I'll apply it to other things. But if we think about alcohol, so it might just be, okay, what one thing can I do today? So every day, do something towards your recovery. Okay, so you don't feel like you're sitting here feeling like I failed because I fell off the wagon. So one thing might be, if it's wine, maybe you pour out a bit of wine first. So you get your bottle, pour a bit out, and you're like, okay, I'm going to have this much wine tonight. So it might be that you go down a lower percentage. So if you're on, I don't know, drinking wine, you might go down to Desperados or something. Just something a little bit less. But again, alcohol is a really tricky one. I would do it with a professional. I would always advise that. But at the very least, because I know there's people who doesn't, make sure you're doing your research on how to do it safely. But yeah, just one every day, something toward your recovery. It doesn't need to be stopping. It needs to be something toward it, building resilience, self-love. And for though I did say I'd apply it to anything else, so we can do this with anything. So when I quit ketamine, what I did is I started reducing it down. So I would reduce down the amount I was buying. I would make my lines smaller. Then I changed up for my last week that I'm only allowed to have keys of it, and then a line at the end of it. Start getting some practice. I'm not going to have it now. I'm going to wait half an hour. Just try and get a bit of control. So I hope that was helpful. But you've done it before, which means you absolutely know you can do it again. And it's just about taking steps towards that. Felid said, I grew up silent, unable to express my feelings. As I turned 26 and enter corporate and business market, I'm always silent, never ask for my rights, and always get flashbacks of my childhood. Please help. So when you say grew up silent, do you mean just silent with your feelings, like you don't express how you feel? Or do you mean just like silent, like just you struggle to talk to people in general? Because they're two different things. So let us know, Velid, and then I can answer with a bit more information. I fell off the wagon 3 times, Tim says. Been sober for 11 years now after 35 years of hard drinking. It's a bitch, but it can be done. Yeah. Honestly, there's not many people who haven't relapsed. There's some people, but for the majority of people do relapse, and it's part of the journey. And it's not about kicking yourself for it, but it's about saying, okay, I know this is going to be fucking hard, but I've done it before, and the majority of people go through this. So what did I learn? What's to learn about it? What am I going to do to protect myself? And what can I do to boost my resilience? And self-love is a huge part of resilience and nervous system, so that when it comes to stopping the next time, my relapse is going to be more successful. So yeah, what's your top tip, Tim, for anyone who's listening? And also for the person who said the relapse, what helped you pull yourself up again? If you don't mind sharing. Doug Smart, thank you very much, no problem. Exactly, just do what I'm told. So you don't speak about your emotions. So this sounds like being so we have different types of communication styles, and this can be really helpful to learn what you are and then learn how to be the correct one. Because there's only one out of those 4 types of communication styles which are helpful to you and other people. So the 4 types will have passive, which is where we don't talk about our feelings. So it sounds like you're in the passive thing. We have passive aggressive. That's where I used to be. It's not a nice one. Passive aggressive is where we don't say anything, but we'll make sly digs, or we'll make it into a joke, or we'll say things but about other people. So we're saying it without saying it, and it's really uncomfortable for the person who's receiving it, because we pick up on body language, tone, everything. So that's where I used to say, you've got aggressive, I think we all know what aggressive is, and then we've got assertive. And assertive is where we need to be, and it's just about communicating our feelings. Now, if we are new to being assertive, something we can do is practice empathetic assertion. It's great for us people pleasers, the passive and passive aggressive people. So empathetic assertion, another way of looking at it, is a shit sandwich. So if you think about it, like, the assertion is expressing your needs, expressing what you want to say, you're upset, whatever it is. So that's the assertive. And the shit, either side of that, the empathetic part, is spend a little bit of time thinking about why whatever's gone on has gone on. So if it's something at work and I don't know, maybe they're getting you to work loads of extra hours because they've got deadlines. There's an example. So what you might do is you could sit there and think about, okay, that's why it might be. And then when at the end of it, you think of something that you're going to say on the positive, which is a win-win. So you start off, you go in, you say, look, I know that you've got deadlines and that you need us all to work. However, and this is the assertion, for me, I'm finding it's impacting my life. I'm only contracted for these hours and it's actually taken away from my family. So I'm not going to be able to commit to what you're asking of us. Then on the end, the win-win, the other side of the shit sandwich, you can say, however, I'm open to compromise. Is there something that we can do where maybe I'm doing a few extra hours a week, but it's only one day, or something like that? So think up a compromise where it's a win-win for everyone. And just practice on small stuff. You don't go in at the big stuff, because if we're not used to talking about our emotions, we're not used to expressing how we feel and being assertive, that can feel really fucking scary. And I'm speaking from experience here. So start off small. Just start practicing with people you feel safe with, people who love you unconditionally. Just start saying dishing out little shit sandwiches. And just start reflecting on how it felt after. How was it the end of the world that I suspected? Was there something positive that came out of it? And just rewire your brain that it's okay to give out shit sandwiches, because healthy people dish out shit sandwiches. And think of it like a blueprint as well. So it's like you say to people, this is how I expect me to be treated. And for us to continue in this relationship, this is how I need to be treated. This is what you need to know about me. So hope that was helpful. How much is your payment fee or charges of counselling? I'm a student from India, teacher. I don't charge for counselling. So I do free one-to-ones for people in dire straits, and I answer messages if people want to send us messages, and I'm doing a free addictions group, but I don't want to charge for it. So yeah. Let's see. How can that be true? I'm confused. How can what be true, Muzza? Let us know, and I will do my best to break it down, but I don't know what you mean. Right. TY, you're getting called. Can't sleep at night and I feel lost. My emotional feelings, I just don't feel anything, like I'm lost. I never thought 7 years of forced military service will change me into another person. Oh my God, absolutely. Tell you why, I used to be head of veteran charity, and the problem is, like, if you think of it like this, when you have, so if you think of our brains and like neuroplasticity, so our brains get wired. So anything that we're doing repeatedly, our brain wires up so that we can do that. So if you think about going in the army, there's certain emotional conditions that's needed for you to serve your country. So you basically spend years rewiring your brain to suppress your emotions. And I know they're getting a lot different now. I know that the military are handling things a lot differently to what they used to be, but it's really common because you're getting taught in effect to suppress your emotions, to be uber masculine, and it's really difficult. And then on top of that, if you've got any kind of trauma which has happened during that time, it's really common for you to be feeling the way you are. And it's about rewiring your brain. And that's not a difficult thing to go through. It's really not. Tell you why, if you want a one-to-one, and we can try and come up with a plan. Also, we can get you in with people who can support you better, because there's so many veteran charities out there. I used to work for one myself. Just go on my website. But it's about thinking, okay, if we're really struggling in anything, like we're really struggling with depression or anxiety or anything, it's about, or even PTSD, it's about recognizing that my brain has been in a repeated state for so long that it's wired up for me to be feeling like this. So it's going to be a very long, slow process with huge wins along the way. It's not all doom and gloom, but it's going to be a process of undoing that and to create rewiring our brain. And that looks like just every day doing one thing to support yourself on that journey. But it's so possible. It really is. It's just something that you've got to commit to. But I'm so sorry that you're feeling like that, and I've got so much fucking empathy for veterans. It's so fucking tough, and honestly, I don't think it's, and also there isn't the right support out there as well. Right. Valid. I feel scared to share, scared to lose. An example, if I was told about something I know, I tend to act stupid to not make the opposite person think he is not teaching me something. I can't bear it. So that's something. It's hard, this, because when we feel like we can't bear something, so if we look at anxiety, there's a circle. It's called the anxiety loop. And this is like what we learn for like phobias. So you've got, oh, this is going to be back to front, isn't it? I'm just going to write here. This isn't going to work. I've just thought my screen's going to flip around. Right, I'll try and explain it easily. So if we think about anxiety, we've got the event, so the thing that makes us anxious. So your thing is, I'm going to just use a little example you've given, which obviously I know it's not very little to you, but I meant just for one example. So when somebody says something to you and they're teaching you and you already know the answer, and what happens is we get anxiety that I'm going to make them feel inferior, or I'm going to make myself feel big, whatever it is. So we get this anxiety. Then the anxiety says, okay, we're going to go into fight or flight or freeze. So it sounds like you're going into freeze or flight, like kind of running away from the situation. I'm like, oh, avoid, or freeze, where you're just going kind of numb. So we'll have the anxious response. And then what happens is when nothing happens, so we did this thing, this behavior, it had no negative consequence, like no negative outcome. So then what that happens is that reinforces this thing that is true. And it's this cycle, and the more we do the thing, the more uncomfortable it feels to not do the thing, because you've created a neural pathway that this is helpful, because anxiety is supposed to protect us from threat. So for somewhere along the line, you've identified saying things like, when somebody says something, saying, actually, I know that is a threat for whatever reason. And then you've reinforced that every time. So to break that anxiety, like with a phobia, we need to start exposing ourselves to it. So that might look like thinking about, okay, what's one thing that I can say that's not fully saying, oh, I already know that, but maybe doing it in a lighter way. So I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head. So it might look something like in the middle to begin with. So you could turn around and say, oh, I've heard something like that. It's really interesting. Tell us more about it. So you're acknowledging that you've heard it, but you're still allowing them to say something more. So you're not fully saying, oh, I already know that. So just trying to slowly but surely test the waters that it's okay. It's okay to do this thing. And I know it feels really uncomfortable, but that's because it's so reinforced now. So anything new that we do is going to feel uncomfortable. Like, it's unavoidable. But what's also uncomfortable is feeling like I never say how I feel. I'm living in a way that doesn't feel authentic to myself. That's also uncomfortable. So one is uncomfortable with growth, which eventually won't feel uncomfortable, and one's just continuously uncomfortable and there's no growth and you're feeling shit about yourself and you're unhappy. So just try and work out how to say it in a just like, if we think about, like, anytime we're doing something new, instead of like just completely doing something new, just think about, okay, this is my comfort zone. We've got a little circle and I'm just going to slowly widen my comfort zone ever so slightly. And then when that feels comfortable, I'm going to widen it a little bit more and just keep tackling it like that. You can replace Tron Legacy with Serena Adia if it helps collateral beauty. I don't know what that means. Hey, I'm Mark. Sober 9 months and I'm a 12-stepper, lol. Thank you for your channel. Oh, thank you. So I've never done the 12 steps. What would you say is the most helpful thing you've done on the 12 steps that anybody can do? Whether they're faith-based or not, if you were going to apply something from the 12 steps to anyone who's struggling, what would that be, Mark? Obviously you don't have to answer, but I always think the people who've been through addiction recovery are the best people that be helping other people who are still in active addiction. I've quit drinking 15 years ago, woke up one morning and just said, this is not for me, no more, I'm better than this. Some people do that. It is very, was that the only time that you've wanted to stop, or was that the time where you were successful and just thought, now I've had enough? But yeah, there is a point. So I've relapsed quite a few times, and then there's a point where you're just like, no, this is the time. You kind of know it's the time when you do it. Like, I know this one's going to be different. It's a bit like, you know, when people say when you get in a relationship and you like, when you know. It was kind of like that for me. I don't know if that's been other people's experience, but I just knew this is the time I'm doing it. Like, there's no. And I was reducing down for it and I knew it then. Started drinking around 15 years old. Now I'm 44. Did you say that you had stopped? Or are you the person who said that you'd stopped though? 4J, are you still drinking or have you stopped now? I can't remember if you're just a person I've just read. I was saying KJHBY here trolling. I haven't even seen them troll. It's like this. I haven't even seen the trolling. Right. Let's see. So valid, and all that came from my past experiences. Traumatic childhood, engaged with a woman I love, cheated on me with 5 different guys, colleagues, Salome. I moved to 4 countries in 2 years. I'm so sorry that you've run through all that, and that makes sense why you're struggling to. Sounds like just it's not shattered your self-confidence, and especially when you've got trauma as well, like a traumatic childhood. So yeah, this is the thing, we have a traumatic childhood, and then we have experiences which layer on top of that, and all the beliefs we create when we're younger, they just layer on top of each other, and it does make it really difficult. it is something that I say every day, just keep widening that comfort circle, keep doing self-help, keep learning to love yourself. And I've been on that self-love journey, and it is hard, but it's so rewarding, and you do see results providing you keep at it. And just start off small, just things which are manageable, things that aren't going to overwhelm you, just little tiny steps, I would say is really key. But anything that you keep working at, keep chipping away at, you will be able to notice a massive difference. Ryan is saying, hey, first time on your channel, what do you do on YouTube? So it's an addiction channel, but I talk about addiction and mental health. I'm a therapist. So I just answer questions, like kind of a quick fire, have a little topic in the beginning. So yeah, that's what I do. Guys, just don't get addicted. It's that easy. I'm being sarcastic. Yeah, just don't. Just don't, like, save yourself a bit of hassle, just stop. I get so annoyed when people say that, like, this, like, kind of idea with addiction where they're like, just stop. All right, okay, I hadn't thought of that. I'm so glad you've came and shamed us, shamed us and gave us that top class knowledge that you've just, that little nugget you've just passed on. Cheers. God. It taught me about the disease I suffered from and gave me a solution that's proven to work. I got free of shame and guilt. We cannot do it alone. Oh, is this, oh, so you're talking about the 12 step. Yeah, reducing shame is so incredibly important in addiction recovery, in any mental health, in just any person in general. Let's be real, we're all riddled with shame. It's so important to reduce shame and learn how to actually experience shame, like feel what shame feels like, and not internalize it. Yeah, it's such a huge component. And the thing is, we come out of addiction recovery, and usually the majority of people who sat in addiction have racked up what I call a shame debt, with just things that were slowly but surely just been racking up thing after thing that we feel ashamed for. Because I feel even just the being in addiction is something that we're automatically told on a societal level is something to be ashamed of. Then we have some people who shame us for it. So if we're not functioning, if people know, then we're getting shamed for the addiction because they feel like tough love. Or people who are just like, just stop, just don't do it. And it racks up shame because you're like, well, like I wish I could just not do it, but I am. And then just anything that we're doing on the addiction, like I did some things that I was super ashamed of. So yeah, and then all the stuff that I was carrying shame for, which led to the addiction around like sexual abuse and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's been a huge part in my recovery journey as well. And I didn't do the 12-step program, so it's clearly universally great. Right. Yeah, Village, you can just go on my website, like it's Tico's posted. I'll do a free one-to-one with you, and we'll just, it's like, it's only a one-off one-to-one, but I'll absolutely, we'll hash out a plan. Yeah, and if anyone's wanting some support, if I'm not getting around to answering questions, like, or you don't feel comfortable, maybe you're watching and you don't feel comfortable commenting, like, feel free to go on my website. I am just supporting people as like just one-offs. It's not as a therapist because I'm trying to be ethical, but I can certainly hash it out with you and get you on the right track and get you signposted if you need to. Yeah, 4J, I'm not ashamed of myself, only God can judge me. Yeah, I'm not ashamed of myself. And even if you're not, like, I am spiritual, and clearly 4J is religious, but we don't even need to think of it, and like, if we're not spiritual, it's not a faith-based channel, like, I don't want to cut people out and make people feel uncomfortable, but like, just accepting that you're a human being. Like, as human beings, we make mistakes, we get it wrong. A lot of the time, the mistakes we're making are just things that are actually unhelpful defense mechanisms, the trauma responses. emotional dysregulation because we didn't learn how to regulate our emotions when we're younger, attachment issues, a lot of the stuff that we're ashamed of, we don't deserve to feel shame for. And especially if we're actively working on ourselves, I'm going to say, right, I've done this thing that I was ashamed of, but I'm going to try and do differently. Like, that is, you are not that person. The fact that you're trying to consciously do differently. And also, people who feel shame and guilt are people who have a moral compass. If you didn't feel shame, then you wouldn't have empathy. So actually feeling shame shows that you're actually a decent human being who's made a mistake. And that is what every fucking human being does. So like, I don't have shame. And if you're holding shame, just remind yourself that you're human. And that is a good place to start facing your shame. Andy March, I'm 200 days off flake. I have told myself it's okay to have some this Christmas because it's been so long. Is this a bad idea? Absolutely. I would say it is. 200 days, so your brain isn't fully rewired yet. So it takes up to 2 years for your brain to be neurologically rewired. So on a physiological level, the only way that I would say, because we don't have to say abstinence, like abstinence isn't always the way forward, but you need to be super protected if you're going to do that. And it's about knowing your own boundaries. So you might have what's called hard and fast rules, so like things where I could do it in a certain circumstance. So like some people do this with alcohol, but the problem is you don't know you don't know how resilient you are and how boundaried you are with yourself until you either get through it and don't relapse, or you relapse and you're fucked. Like, you're fucking fucked. Like, really, as my boyfriend say, like, you're fucking fucked. Like, so it's up to you. But I've relapsed off getting cocky. I said this at the start of this, we get cocky. And Christmas is another time. It's like, it's a time where we're like, oh, it's the holidays, so you might associate it with it. Associate the snow with snow. So I would say personally, I do think it is a bad idea. It's up to you what you want to do though. You know yourself best ultimately. And if you are going to do it, I would certainly put in ways to protect yourself. We can have a one-to-one. I can hash it out with you if you want, Andy. If you do want to go down the route of not abstinence or whatever, we can hash it out. Because it is important to say, like, abstinence isn't always the way forward. So yeah. Yeah, I think you are getting cocky with your soberness, Andy. And I'm not even trying to preach to you. I'm just like, if I said to my friend, and I'm sure she won't mind us saying this story, obviously I'll not say her name, but my friend, she had an addiction for years and she managed to get sober and she did great for years. And then she was like, I started noticing she did it once and it was in a controlled environment. Then she did it again and it was like, it's the same kind of thing. It was like, oh, I'm only doing this, but I wouldn't do it if X, Y, and Z was happening. Then I started noticing that these things started changing, and I sat her down and I said to her, like, I'm just saying this as a friend, but I really see that I know you think that you can do this and that you can just do it that once or twice, but I know that you can't, and I know how much you hated being in an addiction. And she was like, oh, it's okay, I'm not going to do it in these circumstances. And we hashed it out and she felt judged. And I was like, I'm not judging you. I care about you. I'm just being honest because I wish someone had been honest with me when I did it that one time. I could have saved myself racking up a big shame debt and just fucking my life up. And then she did full end up relapsing and it's been really difficult. She's managed to get herself sober again. She's doing amazing. But she did just end up saying, like, I just have to learn that I can't ever do it again. And the problem is, often that lesson is learned through a full-on relapse, Andy. It's like gambling. It's a game of Russian roulette with a lot of bullets in the gun. But yeah, hopefully you don't take that as too preachy, but I'm just speaking from experience. Always be humble after getting clean. Yeah, just be humble in general. Being humble is such a good quality. Like giving yourself grace and giving others grace is one of the best things you can do in life. Learning to give yourself grace and grace to others. Just accepting I'm a little human, a little messy human, and I fuck up, and everybody else is a little messy human and they fuck up, and I'm going to put in boundaries so their fuck ups aren't harmonies. But yeah, just being humble, it makes life so much nicer and more peaceful. Like you talk about people saying I want to have a peaceful life, but you can't have a peaceful life if you're not being humble. I don't see how the two would coexist. Preach, sister. No, I don't like to get too preachy on do this and don't do that. But if you're gonna ask us, I'm gonna be real. Hunt dog is saying bad idea. It's even easier just to hop back up in and start running with it. Yeah, it is. It's honestly every time I relapse, it was just that one line. Like I said in the beginning, one plate scrape. It wasn't even a line. It was like the crumbs. I had I had a line of residue of ketamine residue, and I was hooked. I ended up buying a bag of ket later that night, and that was it. So yeah, it's just that little alter ego coming in, trying to trick it, and it does that. You ever get arrested, miss? No, I didn't. I haven't been arrested. I accidentally stole a top and a police officer picked us up. It was so tragic. Because I was trying on a top, and I'm ADHD, so I'm super scatty. And I was trying on this top and it was too big. And instead of taking it off, like because I was chatting away to my friends, I ended up putting my top back on, and my top was, so it was like a little crop top, and my top was see-through, so you could blatantly see this top. I was just walking around and they turned the buzzers off when I left and phoned the police on us. And they were like, I couldn't even remember my name when they were asking us. I went like non-verbal because I'm autistic, and I couldn't remember my name, anything. And they were really nice to us. The police officer, they were like, we can tell you've not done that on purpose. But yeah, I've never been arrested. I don't think I do well in a prison cell. Oh God. My ex blocks me, studied me until 5th class, and after that I left school. And then I met her on Insta, talked with her. She sent me a pic, and I don't know why I send her guy pic. She blocked me. What? I don't understand that, Kemo. I don't know if I'm just not picking up what you're putting down properly. I'm autistic too, Asperger's syndrome. They're not even diagnosing Asperger's anymore. It's just they're diagnosing it as autism. What's the difference between Asperger's though and autism? Is that the one that's more functional? I don't really know the older diagnosis. But yeah, I'm autistic. That's fun. I do quite like having a touch of autism, I suppose. There's good and bad things about it. Have I got any other people with ADHD or autism who are watching? Quite common to have addiction and one of those. Thank you for this. You've humbled me. I even convinced myself that I can hide it from my family because I haven't done it for so long. Well, in reality, they will be able to tell straight away. It's probably Andy. I'd imagine it's Christmas. So you're dealing with a trigger. So even though and correct us if I'm wrong, but you're 200 days sober, we're coming up to Christmas. Christmas is a huge trigger for a lot of addictions. It really is. It's a huge one. It's because we associate certain things. So like, I'd imagine being off work, loads of festive things. Obviously, alcohol and coke performs coke with ethanol. So I imagine you used to have a drink. First thing you do when you have a drink is you would need a line. So you just associate festive times. I know I remember being off my nut on cocaine. I don't know how to call it cocaine. Coke. Getting all professional there. I remember being off my nut on coke on Christmas Eve, barely sleeping. Many a year. So it's probably just a trigger. And when we realise it's a trigger, and name your alter ego. So Andy, Think of a name, make it funny, I would suggest, if you can make it funny, because laughter produces oxytocin and it disarms everything. So think of a name for your alter ego and just be like, no, not falling for that nonsense, not today. This is a trigger, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z instead, and just remind yourself of how it felt. Sit there and visualize times when you were at your worst and remind yourself and just say, we don't want that. I'm not putting up with your nonsense. It's not happening. Not on my watch. Right. My question is my not real pick to she blocked me, whom I talked in 2021. And after 4 years, I sent an apology message, but she didn't read it. She blocked me. I regret it's my mistake. I lose her, my mistake. X. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It's really shit when it sounds like you've apologised, so you've come to some realisations. It's a hard one to answer that, because for me, I'm really spiritual, so I always think if something's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. But I don't want to downplay how you're feeling as well, because heartbreak is so painful. In fact, heartbreak's one of the most painful things I've been through. More so than, and this sounds really awful, but like my loved ones dying. I haven't dealt with immediate family like my parents or siblings, but I found it more painful because it just lasted so long. So horrible. And it's grief and loss anyways. It is grief and loss. I did a grief and loss course, part of my training, like additional training, and it is grief and loss. I'm starting to get tired. I'm feeling myself lag, and I know that my brain doesn't feel as sharp. So I'm going to do one more comment, and then I'm going to end it. I'm going to go to the middle, try and give somebody else a chance. I'll do two more. Do one from the bottom and one from the middle. Would submitting my contact info and the message on your website be enough to request a session? Yeah, just do that. And it's all confidential, guys. It'll just go through to my email. Nobody else has access to my email. Chris, I'm going to end on Chris's. Chris is always full of wisdom. So triggers are not to be feared. They can be used to explore what you're really passionate about, not what your surface craving might be. Yeah, what do you mean by explore your passion as well? I'm interested in this. Do you mean like using it as an opportunity to do something else? So like I'm being triggered, so I'm going to switch it up with something, like doing something I'm passionate about. So replacing the trigger. I feel like that's what you mean. But yeah, triggers aren't something to be feared. If we start to like regulate through them, the more you do this, the more you associate a trigger not having a craving, which is basically anxiety, severe anxiety. It's 0 to 100. So when we start to anything that, if we think about it, it's all neural pathways in our brain. So if we start to face our triggers head on, regulate our nervous system through them, use them as an opportunity to look at what's going on in my life, and if I'm picking up what Chris is putting down, do something great and exciting to replace it, use it as an excuse to do something fun and something you're passionate about, you start to disconnect the trigger from the craving feeling, which is where I'm at now. So I get triggers and I'm like, whoa, but I don't get that intense anxiety with it. Yeah, you gain strength from facing your triggers, you do, and you start to realise who the fuck you are. So, you know, Andy who's been talking about, I feel like it's Andy who's been talking about, talking about thinking about doing coke. So yeah, you will feel so fucking good. I guarantee if you face your trigger head on and don't give into it, you are going to feel immense after that. Like as good as it feels having that line when we that first line, or when we get whatever, it feels just as good when you sit there and go, fucking hell, like I actually did that. Like I'm some boy, I'm some girls, and remind yourself, like big yourself up and just like actually remind yourself how fucking badass you are for saying no. But face your triggers, absolutely, and you learn who you are. You gain strength and you get it. The thing is, in addiction, we feel so shit about ourselves. We feel like, I don't have control. This addiction's got control of me. You start to shame yourself repeatedly. It get like, for a lot of people, it doesn't just end at shame and it's like self-loathing. I don't know many addicts who love themselves by the end of it. So, and most, let's be real, we don't love ourselves going into it. So, like, if you start to do that and you like face your triggers, you gain strength, which is a muscle that you can build. You start to feel like, actually, I'm pretty fucking great, me. And there's not many people, like, people sit there and they've got a lot to say about just don't do it, just don't have the addiction. Like, I don't think there's not many of those people who sit there and say just don't do it, who would be able to not do it if they were an addict. Like, it takes mad strength to be able to do that. And Andy, you've been doing it already. So, like, the fact that you've been doing it, like, you've got this mad strength. And I think we really need to praise ourselves for being going, like, we're doing something that a lot of people can't do. And a lot of people couldn't even imagine having to do. And I'm fucking mint. So yeah, you do get strength, and make sure you're praising yourself for that strength. I'm going to end it there though, guys. And it's been lush speaking to you. I'll be back on Friday at 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. I go live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m, 9 p.m. If anyone could give us a subscribe, that's really helpful to the channel. But thanks for everyone who's commented and liked, and if anybody has subscribed, I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'll see you on Friday. Bye. Oh, and if I haven't picked up your comment, go on my website, schoolofaddiction.co.uk, and I do my best to reply to everyone. Bye.